Okay, everybody, Stephen Key here. And once again, I have a special guest. In fact, everyone that comes on the YouTube channel is a special guest, in my opinion. And this particular gentleman, Arkady, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did something pretty amazing. He's an inventor in a different industry a little bit, and but it's exploding. You're in the industry of the cannabis, correct? Marijuana.
Yes, the happy industry.
The happy industry. I love that. That's great. And it is growing bigger. I was at a trade show. We're going to cut it in to show that we were together. And you went
Yes.
ahead and licensed an idea in that industry. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I want to talk a little bit about that process. Okay. But
Okay.
before we start with that, let's start at the very beginning. All right.
Okay.
Because it's important for people to know that what you're finding on the internet is not necessarily the best advice at times.
Yes.
Okay, and there's a lot of, and that, there's a lot of ads. We'll talk about that for a minute. There's a lot of stuff on social media that people are giving free advice or videos, and sometimes that free advice is not free. In fact, it could end up costing you a lot of money. So anyway, so when you first started out, I'm going to assume you did like with a lot of people that just started out. You probably went on Google, Googled some things, and you saw some ads. Is that correct?
Yes. So the way it actually started is I went on Google and then I looked it up, and of course the major companies came up, and at that time I didn't really know where to go with it, so it was more like drawing on a napkin. So I did just some research on the web, and at that time, the problem is, like every inventor, you're so scared. Like you think someone's just out to get you and take your item. You're just worried about protecting it. So
Okay.
what I did is I went with a different company. I don't need to name them, but when I signed up with them, a lot of money, and I did get patent through them, and they tried helping. But the issue is one main step that they skipped was is the product manufacturable, and I didn't know invent right at the time. I didn't know the 10-step process. um, I didn't have the knowledge that I needed,
Okay.
so I was just looking for someone to just secure it and just get it started. And yeah, that was the issue. Yeah, so about like 15,000, and 8 months later nothing really happened because it wasn't manufacturable. So that's when, pretty much just like every inventor, right, when things get hard, you have to decide, do I
Sure.
find another way, or do I just stop and just let this be a dead dream like most?
Well, I think the fear is real. And I think
Yes, it is.
um, maybe you're watching Shark Tank, or maybe you listen to a movie or whatever, and you think someone's going to steal your idea and you have to get a patent. And I think what I've realized over my career, and I think what we're trying to explain to everybody, you got to slow it down a little bit. And
Correct.
you have to educate yourself. You can do this. And there's going to be a lot of people out there that are willing to help you or saying they're going to help you. And sometimes that doesn't really work that well.
No, it
I,
doesn't.
yeah, I believe you have to educate yourself and you have to be in control of it yourself.
Yes.
And one of the big issues that you mentioned is understanding that you can have a pretty picture, but at the end of the day, a company is going to want to see if it's manufacturable. And
Correct.
yeah, and sometimes when you have someone draw something up, that's okay for the first concept,
Yeah.
fine. But eventually, it's going to come back to being manufactured. And the other issue, if you file a patent on something that cannot be manufactured, you really wasted your money. Okay.
Yes, and time and everything else. So to start my story and where it actually began, and first, sorry, thank you, Stephen, for everything. Thank you, Andrew, for everything. And thank you, Paul, my coach. By the way, your videos,
All
everything
right.
you guys do is so helpful. InventRight TV on YouTube is amazing. And that's not a plug, that's a fact. So actually, so the way it started was this. So after that happened, I had to decide. So that's where my actual process really started. Because once I realized I was stuck and they're not going to do anything, they submit it and that's it. You just wait. And I realized it's not manufacturable because I tried to get a price quote on it. So when I contact companies, I know a little more about my product. So that's when I started doing more research and came across InventRight. So read more, kept watching videos, got your book, One Simple Idea, and it changed everything. So pretty much instead of being in a fog and being afraid, I understood the clear path to how to get there. Now, of course, that clear path has obstacles, but at least you know where you're going. The destination in the GPS is set. So what I ended up started doing is watching all your videos. Once I had the knowledge, I went through the steps and then I took your advice. Research, knowledge, and conventions,
Okay.
trade shows. So I went everywhere, saw the weakness in the market, saw how I could better my product, did more thorough search to see if it exists. It didn't. So then I tried to better it, but the problem is I don't have any engineering background or anything. So what do? I hire for what I'm weak at. So what I did is I found a company and I hired them to bring it to life, make it manufacturable. So they changed it up. It used to look like this. This was Roach Pack, and the product's called Roach Pack. Slogan is store it for later. It's pretty much an alternative package that lets you store your lit item for later use, because most people don't finish their joints, which is marijuana or cigars even. So it's pretty much for all pre-rolls. But what happened is once they made the product and bettered it, and then I knew from conventions that it had to be child resistance, because anything that has to do with pharmaceuticals that goes from illegal to legal has to be child resistant as far as the packaging. So then I started working with the engineers and got it all together, and then started testing the child resistant. I took it all on my own. So the route that I took in the beginning was I'm going to venture out and do it myself. But then after I found out all the information and got more clear because of InventRight, I realized licensing is the way to go. But I was already so deep in protection and figuring out how to better my product that I had to just keep moving and keep moving. So by the time I actually came to my licensing deal, I already had a finished almost product with the CAT files. I have 2 non-provisional patents. I have 4 trademarks for names, slogans, and logos. So pretty much I did it a little differently. I pretty much made a whole deal, like a whole gift package, and just gave it to them.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute, because
Yeah.
that really works though in your favor too. It's expensive. We know that you don't have to do it that way every time.
No.
But I can tell you, we did interview the company that did license it, and we have an article that went out. And I spoke to the gentleman that you worked with. I was so happy that you had done that.
Yes.
Okay, it did make it easier for them. It was harder for you because you had to spend all that money. Okay.
Yeah, it was harder for me, but the beautiful part to that is if you do take your time, if you think you do have something that needs protection, and you need to put some good thought into it, because every inventor thinks everything needs protection. So when you do a thorough search, you'll know if you even have room for protection. And then if you do protect it and you do give it a good name and it's catchy and everything, do so, because then like that, your licensing deal is going to be expedited and you have more leverage. So like in my case, I don't want to get into details, but it only took like 4 weeks to get a licensing deal to just sign and finish, because they had everything. I handed them everything. And then also, your royalty percentages and your minimum guarantees and so on, that plays a big strength when you come in with a lot more than just a drawing on a napkin. Yeah. But keep in mind, now that I have all this knowledge, and the thing is my next project, I know the right way to approach it. So if it does need the protection, I'll do a PPA. If needed, I'll do a non-provisional, and so on. But now that I know, I can judge it correctly.
Okay. We've got 1 minute left.
Okay.
Thank you for that, because
You're welcome.
We like licensing. We know that you got sidestepped, but I like that you kept going. You knew you had something. You kept going. It didn't derail you. You kept going. You found the right company. They valued what you had provided, which is really smart. Not everybody can do that. You were able to do that. How easy was it finding the company, real quick? Was it hard? Did they treat you good? How did they treat you?
So the cannabis industry is awesome. It's arms open. You're more than welcome. They're awesome. The only issue right now is it's such a industry that's growing so big and so fast that all these companies have internal projects that they're working on themselves. So the problem I kind of came across when I was submitting was
Get
they
in
love the
line.
idea. Yeah, it's like get in line because first they want to take care of their own in-house
Got it.
ideas that they're
Okay.
working on and then take outside submissions.
Okay.
But they're awesome and they're good to work with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you very much for coming on.
Oh,
And
no problem.
it was
Could I
really,
show the product so
yeah,
people
show the
understand
product.
it?
Show the product.
Okay, so I have a few samples. So they come in different, of course, colors, different designs, and then the inside of it are roach wells. This is what you actually put your roach inside. So to show you is there's a prototype, of course. So pretty much the child resistance on the side, just like a cigarette pack. You squeeze here, flip it open.
Nice.
That's the child resistance. And then this pulls up,
Put it in.
and then your partially smoked lid joint
Yep.
goes in here.
Got it.
And then when you close it,
Okay. Got
it's
it.
airtight and finished.
Love it. Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
hat. Thank you for coming
Love
on. You're awesome. So
Thank you guys. And one question, Steve, when will we be expecting your new book, Become a Professional
well, it's
Inventor?
coming out soon. Thank you for saying that. We got to cut it short. Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you.
Soon.
All right.
Okay. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Invent Right.